Welcome back into the Sports Source. This segment of our show brought to you by our friends at Safety Systems. We've told you that they are the best company in town for your home security or home theater needs, but they also just star in the corporate world. Not long ago, they outfitted the home office of Holston Gas with a 3D projector system. If you think a home theater is cool with a projector system, see one with 3D. They've got a system in their conference room there at Holston Gas, 3D projector system. In other words, everything Safety System does is state of the art. Call them for your project at home, or if you're a businessman looking to upgrade the conference room facilities, your display areas there in the front of the building, get in touch with Safety Systems. Right now, get in touch with the Safety Systems drawing board where Chuck Cavallera stands. And what we're going to do here, we're going to play the what if game, okay? 8 scenarios that could possibly happen on the Donnie Tyndall front. Just very quickly, what happens if anything? And the first one, we can just go ahead and, if the buck gets completely passed, then obviously he stays. I think that's your best case scenario is the NCAA finds him not guilty, or those guys that took the fall already take all the blame and Donnie Tyndall gets away and it's not his fault. He didn't know what it was and the NCAA doesn't blame him. That's the best case scenario. Bob Hodge, I'll start with you though. I'm going to give one of you each of these, or each of these to one of you, up to a half-season suspension, Bob Hodge. What
up to
happens?
a half-season suspension, he stays. Okay. Because I think the questions are answered, your recruiting can get back on track, you know what the end game's going to be. Half-season suspension, he stays.
All right, Jimmy Helms, you get the next one. A suspension, but with recruiting restrictions, meaning can't go on the road as much, might not have as many visits, can't make as many phone calls, that type of restriction.
How long is the suspension?
Let's say half season. Half season with some recruiting restrictions.
He stays.
He stays. Okay. Mark Pancratz, you get a suspension with a reduction in scholarships. Now, this is highly unlikely because that's really penalizing the school, but you never know with the NCAA. They could hit Donnie Tyndall and say, you're the guy, you've been at 2 schools, this has happened to you, you're going to be minus 2 scholarships. If they lose scholarships, what happens?
I think he stays.
You think they stay even if he loses scholarships?
Yep.
Okay, very good. Bob Hodge making...
No, I think you lose scholarships. You brought him in here from another school. You're penalized because of something he did elsewhere. Get rid of him.
Okay. Mike Strange, a full season suspension.
Full season suspension.
No other penalties. Now, here's the thing. Jim Boeheim got a whole whopping 9 games for 8 years worth of violations, but he was under the old deal. I don't think you'd get a full season suspension, but just covering all the bases, if that happened, do you think UT would stand by him and go with an interim for a year? Mark Pancratz is available. Where's Houston Fancher today?
He ain't got to pay me that much either.
I don't think a full season suspension. I don't think they could live with that. Half season suspension where you got your non-conference games and you're about ready for SEC now. Full season now.
Chuck Cavallera's making an X through that one. I'd say we don't think he'll survive that if that happens. All right, back to Bob. Well, Chuck, I'll give you this one. Serious academic fraud issues. Now, there are rumors of this kind of stuff. If it traces back to Tyndall, knowing the UT administration, do you believe they would stand by him, or do you think that'd be a no-no?
I believe that's the no-no, and we've said that. If you're talking about altering transcripts or somebody taking tests or turning in papers for somebody else, I don't think you can go with that.
All right, you can go ahead and put an X through that one. All right, I think this next one is obvious, so we're just going to put an X through a show cause penalty. If he gets a show cause, then that more than likely, we've been down that road once before at UT.
They would show him the door.
Yeah, because there you're going to get massive penalties on top of that. It's not just show cause, it's show cause with penalties. Central Florida chose to keep Donnie Jones, and they got bombed into the Stone Age for doing so, despite his show cause. That was after Bruce Pearl. The last one here is one thing we haven't touched on, but it remains a possibility. What if Tyndall didn't tell them everything up front? Because Dave Hart hired him. Dave Hart claims that they discussed all this stuff. If they feel that he sat in a room with them and didn't fully open up about the Southern Miss stuff, do you think that opens the door for him being let go?
Yes, immediately.
Okay.
I agree with Bob. I don't think he would be retained.
Okay.
I think with Dave Hart's personality weighs in heavily on this one, I think he wouldn't be retained.
Mike.
Yeah, I think this is the most interesting one of all because almost how could that not have happened? I mean, if they're sitting in a room.
Yeah, if they do find something, if he's guilty of something, that it's impossible he didn't.
And you wonder if something like this, John, is it in a contract somewhere? That
Well,
if
yeah.
And if it is, that it's not a, that's pretty cut and dried to me.
All right, so basically what we're saying is if he gets a suspension, of any kind, even with scholarships, and I question that one. I think if you lose scholarships, you're in trouble. But a suspension up to a half season, a suspension with recruiting restrictions, phone calls, that kind of thing, we think he stays. Anything stronger than that, we think it's going to be very difficult for him to maintain his job at UT. We agreed on that?
Except for the
Scholarships.
loss of scholarships.
Except for scholarships.
I think the half X and half no X is just a symbol of, and we have no idea what the NCAA is
Yeah, that's right.
They're
And you
not just throwing darts at it.
You got to put 8 of them up there.
You're
because
right,
there's 8
but
different-
it's just-
Here's the thing. I could have filled if we had a bigger board, we could have filled the wall with stuff that could happen through the NCAA. You don't know.
You never know.
All right. When we come back, spring preview continues. We take a look at Tennessee secondary. Come on back on the Sports Source.
Follow the Sports Source online at sportsource.tv and on Twitter at SportsSourceTV.